Hey YouTube, how's everybody doing? It's been a little while since I've made a video tutorial, but I finally figured out how to get audio routed out from Ableton into OBS. So hopefully I will bring you guys more tutorials in the future because I now know how to set that up. Took a while, but hey, we got it going now. So today's tutorial, I'm going to touch upon gain staging, what it is and why it's important. Now, gain staging might be something that you guys have heard about before, and I think overall it's not really understood very well. It's pretty simple at its core, but it's a concept that like a lot of people get confused with. So I'm going to try to clear things up a little bit for you guys. So as far as my understanding goes, gain staging at its core basically is adjusting the gain between modules in your processing chain. And what I mean by that is, let's say you had a saturation unit in the real world, okay? So you're working with hardware and you have a unit that's applying saturation to your audio signal. Before and after that unit, or maybe in the unit itself, you'll have options to turn up the, for lack of a better term, gain volume going into that particular unit and going out of the unit as well. And at its core, those areas where you can adjust the gain, that's gain staging right there. So why does that matter? In this particular example, if you had that saturation unit and you wanted to get more harmonics out of the content that you were pushing into it, what you would do is you would turn the gain up beforehand. So effectively, you're driving that hardware unit harder, and because of it you'll get depending on the type of distortion, tape, tube, whatever, you're going to get more harmonics generally out of that. Now there's a point at which that in the analog and digital world, that type of distortion can start to sound a little bit unpleasant. So there's actually recommended levels that you drive these units at, and there are certain VSTs that model this analog equipment. And I mean, sometimes developers do it, sometimes they don't, but they'll say in their manuals, we recommend driving these units at this level in order to get the best sound out of it. That's not something I really pay too much attention to. I kind of just listen because I don't have time to read all the manuals for every VST that's out there. You listen using your ears and you determine whether or not the sound going in and coming out is better. So that's a lot of talking. Sorry about that. I'll get into an example here so I can kind of show you guys what I just said. So I have a simple liquid drum and bass loop here. And if we look at the peak levels there, it's peaking around negative 9.44 dB, right? So it's not super loud, not super quiet. And what I have on here is, oh, that's great. That's good. That's exactly what you want. Okay, yeah, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That's the end of the video, actually. Yeah. So anyways, moving forward, this drum and bass loop, I have a little bit of processing on it here. So I'm going to keep it off. I'll play it. So effectively what I've done is I've set up two utilities, one in front of this overdrive and one after. So what I can do is I can turn the output gain off, and I can change the gain before the overdrive to adjust the way that it reacts to the audio moving into it. Right, so when I push it harder, the harmonics in the high end get a lot louder, and when I pull it down, the unit doesn't affect the overall audio quite as much, and the tone and timbre of the signal is different. So what I like to do, what I've started doing recently, and I'm not sure if this is a good practice or not, but it seems to make sense to me, is I'll put, like, if I have a unit like this or something that's adjusting the volume coming out significantly, I'll put a utility afterwards, or if, like, with this effect rack, I was going to show you guys in a sec, but there's an output knob here, right? So when you're doing processing, sometimes the audio gets louder as it goes through your unit. And because of that, we're wired to think louder is better, and we keep the changes. We say, yep, that's a good change because it is louder. Well, there might be a whole bunch of things going on that you're not really paying attention to or hearing, because the only thing you're paying attention to is the fact that it got louder, so therefore it's better. And that might not be the case. So what I'll do is I'll show you guys here. Right, so it's peaking a little bit louder. It's peaking, 2.5 dBs louder, somewhere in and around there. So what we can do is we can use this utility afterwards to actually adjust the gain of the audio in order to keep everything level throughout the entire processing chain. And that way, your brain isn't tricked into thinking, oh, because it's louder, it's better. You're actually listening to just the way that the processing has affected the audio. Okay, so using my ears and the meter, relatively, that audio is about the same level, right? So now you have a better idea of how that unit has affected the audio and whether or not you should keep those changes. You want to have a vision going in of what it is that you want to get out of the processing chain. Otherwise, things are just going to be messy. But if that vision that you have in mind is met by the way that you are using your plugins, then you're golden. So one quick example here, another one, is I'm going to put some parallel compression on. We're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to group this in here. Oh, it's already in the whole chain, I think. Yeah. Okay. So then what you can do is, because I've grouped everything in this chain, I can turn it on and off, and I can compare the entirety of every plugin that I've added into the chain, the way it affects the sound and how the sound sounded originally, and whether or not I like those changes. So this sound, after processing, because we weren't perfect going through it with our gain staging, is a little bit quieter actually than the original sound was. And it might sound louder, but that's just because we've added quite a lot of high end and removed some of the lows with this overdrive unit here, and possibly with some of the parallel compression we added in. So it's kind of an interesting way to view the way that you process audio, and it's definitely a really important concept to get down. Hopefully this will help you guys make better mix decisions. If you have any questions or comments about the tutorial, please let me know, and I'll try my best to answer them. And if you want me to touch on anything in the future, let me know. Cool.